Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us on day one of the 12 days of Christmas. Though I was informed today we're not allowed to call it the 12 days of Christmas because that name is owned by another bottle shop in Europe somewhere. Did you know that, Josh?
I did not know that, no.
I'm still going to persist with calling it the 12 days of Christmas because to me, that's like copyrighting a hymn. It's just not ethical. 12 days of Christmas is common heritage of all good.
Can we say dozen beers of Xmas?
Dozen beers of Xmas. So from now on, it's the dozen beers of Xmas. I prefer it anyway. But yes, wherever you are in these strange times, thank you for joining us in our little 12 beers of Christmas. Sorry, what are we calling it?
12 beers of Xmas.
Dozen beers of Xmas. And then throw shapes. Yes. So yes, thank you very much for joining us. Today on day one, we're going to kick you off with our classic Disco King. I'm not sure if that'll be the right way around, but if you've got a can of it, it should look something, if not identical to this one. This is the beer that for us pretty much kicked off the brewery. Josh, had you tried much Disco King before you joined us last year?
Yes, it wasn't the first turning point beer that I tried, but it was probably the one that I'd had the most, which I think is probably a good way of defining it for anyone.
I think so, yeah. That probably rings true for everybody at the brewery, I would have thought. It's probably by volume.
Yeah.
Probably the one we get through the most of. But yeah, so this was one of the beers that we kicked off with in 2017. It was one of the, I think it was the third brew day we ever did at our original brewery site in Kirby Moorside, and we've been brewing it ever since. So I think we're up to maybe, how many brews are we on now?
We're in the 240s, I think, is it?
I'm going to actually just take a minute and check that. I can edit this out. Brewery.
200 was it?
Oh yeah.
At the end last year.
So we're currently on like 260 brew days, and of which I think Disco King is probably maybe 60 plus of them. So it's definitely not like we're not bored of it, because it's probably once or twice every month or something like that. But it's one of those things, it's regular enough that we get to sort of tweak it a little bit and you might not notice. So over time, it's probably changed quite a bit. But the idea was we wanted to make our core beer. We didn't want that to be our 4% pale ale. We really wanted the core beer to have a little bit more to it. I guess probably like most breweries our age and size, taking a little bit of inspiration from Punk IPA and those sort of, and Beavertown Gamma Ray as well. Those sort of 5% plus modern hoppy hazy beers, and yeah, it's exactly what we've got. Which yeah, I love it, absolutely love it.
I really enjoy the fact that we have it in like all different formats all the time. So like can, keg, and cask. So, and it's always available. So that means that I always can try it, and it's to the point where it's a really recognizable flavor to me. Like I could blind taste Disco over anything in the world now.
That's good. That's very, yeah. I'd be really upset if somebody like bought me a pint in a pub and were like, "What do you think of that beer?" I'd be like, "Eh." But if I didn't spot it, I'd be really very upset with myself, because, like you say, we've had so much of this beer that it's kind of become, I don't know, there's a genetic imprint. But also, you'll notice. Sorry, Josh, do go on.
I was going to say, yeah, I think, well, like you were saying, like with Gamma Ray and Punk IPA, it's on a smaller scale, but for us, it's a similar sort of thing where it's in a lot of places that we venture to ourselves. So we're used to having it at the brewery, but also out and about.
Definitely. And if any of you live in York, you'd probably be accustomed to seeing Disco King in quite a few bars. If you're from further afield, which I expect many of you are, then perhaps you've not seen it on tap very often. But for example, for us, a good day out in York is pretty much the Disco King pub crawl, which we've done a few times and has always been a good day out. And I reckon as soon as pubs reopen, hopefully next year, and everything's back in full swing and pub crawls are a thing again, then that might be one to try out.
Definitely.
Maybe as a team. We could do with a team pub crawl, I think.
Yeah, I'd love to do that. And yeah, the more we see Disco King more permanently in other areas near us, like Leeds or Harrogate, we can do different types of pub crawls with it as well.
Absolutely right. And you probably notice as well this pretty distinct can with the bright pink colour, and that matches. It's pretty much the sort of the tie-in with all of our other branding. Also, the pink colour that we use started with Disco King and has been plaguing the t-shirts that we wear ever since. And any sort of branding thing that we touch turns to pink, it seems, which is a shame. I'm looking at Josh's Christmas hat and I'm thinking, why is it not pink?
Sorry.
You should have known when you bought that like 2 years ago or more. I don't know.
Have you? Do you think everyone should know why it's called Disco King?
Yes. Do you know the answer to that one, Josh?
It's a reference to a song from David Bowie.
It is. The song is called Bring Me the Disco King, and it's the last song on his album Reality, which I'm not going to check. I think that's right. I'm 80% sure that's right. It's the one with the really bad album cover. But that album's...
There's a remake of it with James Maynard Keynes from Tool singing on it as well.
Oh, it's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
And there's
and
the John Frusciante one.
The Red Hot Chili Pepper guitarist does it as well.
But yeah, so the design that we've got now on the can is probably how it'll stay. Hopefully, I hope I don't eat my words on this. Probably how it'll stay for the foreseeable future. But there's been a real sort of bedding in process of getting that right, making it look exactly how we want. There's a difference between how things look on your computer screen, between how they look on a can. It's taken us a bit of time, but some serious sort of sat in my living room and staring at the can, and now we've got it exactly right, I think. But the recipe for Disco King is not really a closely guarded secret. If you go back into the archives of our website, scroll back on the blog pages, you'll find a fairly detailed recipe of how Disco King started, including all the sort of changes that we put in 2018 to get it where we wanted it to be. And since then, it stayed pretty much exactly the same. But it's all extra pale malt, a little bit of caramel in there, which just gives it a little bit of a sweetness. And there's some malted extra which just ups the body a little bit, keep the carbonation really low as well. And it's hopped with Mosaic and Chinook on the dry hop and Simcoe in the whirlpool. So it's, yeah, really, really clean, really easy drinking. There's quite a lot of interesting flavors going on. One that I never really can pick up, but we always seem to get feedback from whenever I speak to people about this beer, is that it smells and tastes of strawberries. What do you think, Josh?
I mean, when people say it, you know, it inputs it into your head to begin with, and then you can no longer be objective. But I'd say in the smell, maybe. In the taste, no. Would be my
I agree.
answer.
The aroma is a little bit, you can kind of picture it. But you could also do the same thing with basil. Josh, does this beer smell like basil?
Well, now you've said it.
Reeks of basil. Yeah, never believe people when they tell you how to taste things. So we won't do too much of that in these videos. We're not here to bore you with data. We want you to enjoy drinking these beers. And if you've got any questions, just drop it in the comments. Give us an email if you want instead, or our mobile numbers are on the website. Don't ring us, that'd be rude. But whatever, just drop us a text, give us an email, messages on Facebook. We'll answer any questions.
I think Simcoe in the whirlpool is like gold dust. I don't think that's ever made a beer worse. Simcoe in the whirlpool makes everything better.
Never. And the great thing at the minute is this current crop of Simcoe. The Simcoe that we've had has always been beautiful, but when we started in 2017, the 2016 crop of Simcoe leaf we were using was absolutely gorgeous. You open the bag, and yeah, hops are green, but what you're looking for is those sort of like gold flecks of deliciousness. You know it's good. You open the bag, and like, you know it's a good batch of hops when somebody in a different room says, "What the hell's that?" And we don't get that many with many leaf varieties. They're normally so dried out and well packed together. But with Simcoe, 16 was a great crop, and then that sort of impact died off a little bit for the couple of years that followed. But this 2019 Simcoe leaf that we're getting from Yakima Chief is absolutely outstanding. I open a bag of that now, and it's like, I can't possibly let anybody else do it. I need to break it up and put it in the beer because it smells so nice. It's like I'm not sharing my toys. It's absolutely gorgeous. Anything else on Disco?
I've got I've created my own fake disco ball there.
You have. That is a very beautiful disco light. In fact, you've done that quite well. Is that intentional?
No, it's just a lamp. it's like a wicker lamp. So the holes in it create little dots on the wall.
You've done really well.
What
The
was I gonna say
only
about
other
this
thing
video?
I would say to make this as interesting as possible is at the end of this video, I will put a picture up of me at the York Beer Festival 2018, where there's a nice lady whose day was ruined by me visiting her, and she was doing face paint and glitter and things, and she's like, she had a queue, and they were mainly children, but Chris from Bad Seed Brewery had his face painted and he had his beard glittered, and I thought, I want some of that. So I walked over to her with a Disco King pump clip and said, please, I want to look like that. And she did make me look like the Disco King pump clip. Yeah, that's one for the end of the video.
Maybe we could talk about the blend of Disco King and Green Mountain, because a lot of people will already know what Green Mountain is.
Oh yeah, that was really fun. So we've tried that. That's the third disco variant, effectively. So Disco Mountain was basically a dream come true especially for Luke in the brewery. A coming together of probably Luke's two favorite beers, Disco King and Green Mountain, which for me as well, Green Mountain by Thornbridge is the absolute mothership of session pale ale technology. And
we had to call it Disco Mountain, because if you put it the other way around, then
yeah,
Green King.
I'll have to bleep that out. But yeah, thanks very much, everybody. We'll see you in the Monson, which is Turning Point code for morning. We'll see you tomorrow.
Cheers.